Hello, and welcome to the next phase of paperwork in closing the sale. Um, the tutorial that we have here for you today is going to focus on presenting the numbers to the client. So just as a review, there's a lot of things that you will have established already. When you're presenting the numbers to the client, you'll be using what we call the money sheet here, okay? And this phase in the sales process and the presentation with the house really solidifies and brings everything together. All the information that you have gathered previously in the presentation, you are now going to be using with this money sheet. Okay, so just to recap here, you will have already talked about Lincoln Heritage, who we are, customer service. You will already have established the beneficiary and have been using the beneficiary's name throughout the entire process. And you're going to be using this name here. Sally Smith is the example. Okay, this is very crucial here. Is the client looking for cremation or burial? If a client is looking for cremation, you're normally not going to put maybe 15,000 together for them. Maybe 10, 7, and 5 or something like that. Whatever you pick and whatever the client's need is, if that's the case. Burial, of course, you want more. Why do you need more insurance for burials and for cremations? Well, that's part of establishing the need. Okay, you're going to show them the little bar graph of the costs of insurance, cost of funerals that are going up, and letting them know, showing them the funeral cost estimate sheet that comes in that white folder, showing them that a burial is between 8 to 12,000. Okay, and that's today's numbers. It's going up 5 to 7% each year, and that's not including cemetery expenses. Cemetery expenses can be $8 to $12,000 on top of the funeral expenses. So you're looking at $16 to $24,000 right there in today's numbers. So you already have explained the FCGS, and you may even want to review. I always flip back to the funeral planning when I'm presenting the coverage here, just to really enhance the benefits. And you've already have established whole life versus term life. So these numbers here will make sense. A lot of clients think, oh, I can get $100,000 of coverage for the same prices here. I'm just going to go with that other company. So it's very crucial that you do explain the difference of whole life and term life, because most of your clients are going to already have in their mind a big insurance policy value, a big face amount, and expect to pay a little bit. So you want to mentally prepare them for that as well. Okay. So when presenting this, what I did here is just put an example. I don't write this actually on the client's money sheet that I present to them, and I also, for your ease of conversation here and for your benefit as the viewer, I put in the calculations already so you can see how I came to these numbers. Okay, so with this money sheet, let's begin. So I will first wrap it up. I've already figured out what the client qualifies for. I have the okay. We've familiar with the rate book. We've qualified the client, and as I'm calculating these coverages out here, I'm asking the client, oh, so what do you like to do in your free time? And that gets them talking, so there's no downtime and there's just silence. You don't want silence. Okay, and then now we're going to present the money to the client. So we know, just as an example, that this client, who's a 66-year-old female, she has a health condition which makes her modified. Okay, and she's looking for burial. And once again, this is up here just for the sake of this tutorial here. So I'm going to write down all the AD&D amounts. You'll notice that we gave John Smith 5 units of AD&D. You're going to write down the beneficiary, today's date, your name, okay, whole life coverage. That's 15,000, 12,000, 10,000, okay. All that information will be there. And I would highly recommend to leave these amounts blank, because when you show those numbers, guess what? Everything you told the client, everything that you're telling the client as you're presenting, they're ignoring it because they're just looking at how much it's going to cost. So you save the best for last. So I'm gonna have, as once I fill this all out here with the client, leaving these amounts blank, I'm gonna say, okay, Mr. Smith, um, this is what I put together for you here, and I'm gonna explain how this works. If this is what I call the pre-close. If this works for you, take full advantage of it. Okay. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine. There's no obligation here today. But all I ask for you is to promise me not to think about it. And here's why. Either A, I didn't explain something clearly, or you may just be unclear on something, and I can definitely clarify that for you. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. Or something here that I put together for you just isn't fitting in the budget. And if that's the case, that's fine. These numbers aren't permanent. Just let me know, and we can put the best plan together for you that gives you the most coverage and also fits comfortably in your budget. Sound fair? As you nod your head. And yeah, sure, great. Okay. Well, great. Well, what I put together for you here is a $15,000 policy. All right, what this $15,000 policy, you start today, your coverage goes into effect right away. Now, if something were to happen in the first year, now keep in mind this client is modified, we're going to give you all the money back, plus 10% of what you put into it. Okay? And if something happens to you in the second year, we're going to give you all your money back, plus 20% in the second year. And that's only for natural causes. Now you might have, on the side note here, you might have some clients say, oh wow, 10%, that's better than any bank can give you. And yeah, that's right. Or you might have some clients, well, I could just put that away. Well, if you could, how much do you have saved up already? Okay, so going back to the presentation. So if something happens the first year, return of premium plus 10%, return of premium plus 20%, and that's only if you pass away of natural causes. If you were to trip and fall down the steps, okay, we're going to pay out $25,000 to Sally here, plus the 15 on top, so that is $40,000 that go to Sally, something happened tomorrow. Now, if something did happen tomorrow, of course, we would have to do a little investigation, but once that because that's very rare, but once that investigation is done, then we pay out right away. Single dismemberment, if you lose an arm or an eye or a leg, or if something happens to you, well, you just can't lose your head, okay? If you lose a limb, then we will pay you while you're still living, Mr. Smith, $12,500 while you're alive. So you don't even have to pass away and you still get money from us, okay? Auto accident, $50,000. So if you're driving your car and you hit someone, or someone hits you, or you're just a passenger in the vehicle and you pass away, that's $50,000 that will go to Sally plus the 15. And as you're presenting this to the client, you're using a pen or some kind of pointer, and you're doing the triangle like this. You're talking to this goes to there plus that. This to Sally plus this. All right. Common carrier, bus, plane, train, taxi. And while you're presenting these, okay, all the information that they've told you about their lifestyle, you are applying here. You are painting the picture, designing this plan specifically for them. If the client likes to travel a lot and goes to Florida, you're going to mention Florida while you're explaining the AD&D coverage, okay? So common carrier, let's say, John, if you went down to Florida to visit your daughter, Sally, then if something happens to you, and you were to pass away because of that bus, plane, train, something of that nature, we're going to pay out $100,000 to Sally plus the $15,000 on top. That's $115,000. If there's a hate crime committed because of your age, race, sexual orientation, religion, like Boston bombing or 9/11, we're going to pay out $100,000 to Sally plus the $15,000 on top. That's $115,000. And if you are down in Florida, visiting your daughter Sally, we're going to pay up to $5,000 to bring you back home to Pennsylvania, plus if it's because of the common carrier, that'd be additional $100,000 plus the 15. So that's potentially up to $120,000 right there of coverage. Okay. Now keep in mind with this $15,000, all right, your rate is locked in. Okay, which is great. So whatever you start at today, that's not going to change, and it pays out in 24 hours, which is huge. So that means that she won't have to worry, where the money is, when the money is going to get there. All right, and it is a modified plan. We already explained that to the client. Okay, and because we have the funeral planning here, we are shopping around. We're getting you maybe a $16 or maybe even a $17,000 funeral if that's what you wanted for only $15,000 because we're shopping around and comparing those prices. Okay. Now, All this coverage here is yours, Mr. Smith, plus all the benefits with the 15,000. Plus, and then I switch back to the membership cards. Plus, you get all these membership cards. These are all yours. And all this funeral planning is yours. Everything here in Part A and in Part B. You get all of that. All of that is yours, okay? And that is only, and then this is when you would write the coverage amount in, at $154.10. And for the 12,000, we 124.88. And for the 10,000, it would only be 105.40. And this is the close. So I just need to see your photo ID. And while you're up getting that, we'll make the check out to Lincoln Heritage, and that way you'll be covered right away. And while you make the checkout, I'm going to put your receipt together for you. That's proof that your coverage starts today. Okay. And then I put my head down and I look at the application. I start filling everything out. I slide over this money sheet to the client as I am done reading the amounts here. I slide it over to them, and I'm also looking at my application to fill out the client's age, everything of that nature. But I'm also looking at their body language too. I'm looking at their facial expression, okay, and this is where you don't want to talk, and you let them do the talking. You can kind of see sometimes by their body language that this might be too expensive, and you'll be able to tell that. In that case, calculate another coverage amount, find something that's going to fit their budget, and you are good to go. Okay. Now keep in mind here on the bottom of the screen it says your first payment will be on the 15th. Great. Review this with the client. Let them know. All your future payments will be on the 1st or whatever day that the client picks. It can only be between the 1st and the 28th, but their first payment can be a different day than their recurring payments. And that's it. So then you would collect the check, and we're going to talk about that in the next tutorial. You're going to finish the paperwork, leave them with the receipts, and you're going to get referrals. So that is everything. I hope you enjoyed how to present the money sheet, or presenting the coverage to the client. And once again, if you have any questions with this, feel free to contact myself or your mentor.